everyone. Welcome back to my Coursera class, Biochemical Principles of Energy Metabolism. We are in the middle of cellular respiration, in particular the glucose breakdown pathway. In the previous session, we finished the first phase of glucose breakdown, which is called glycolysis. Before we get into remaining step 2 and step 3, I'm going to give you a more introductory session about mitochondria. We just finished about glycolysis. This reaction occurs inside your cell, in particular the cytoplasm or cytosol, the fluidic compartment. So the main point of glycolysis is C6 glucose molecules first phosphorylated and activated, and these metabolically activated glucose molecules will be degraded into C3 compound, and then we can abstract ATP molecules. The final product is pyruvic acid, which is 3 carbon containing organic molecules. Step number 2 and citric acid cycle, and step number 3 oxidative phosphorylation, so-called OXPHOS. And these two reactions take place inside the mitochondria. So for today, I'm going to give you the importance of mitochondria a little bit more in detail. So what is mitochondria? I have to say that mitochondrion, this singular is mitochondrion. Mitochondria means this is plural. Okay, so mitochondrion is the double membrane bound oval shaped organelle, which is essential for oxidation of macromolecules, including carbohydrate, and finally the site for the synthesis of ATP, which means the energy production. So in terms of length, typically 2 microns, and diameter is 0.5 micron wide. So we are looking at the diagram, and this is transmission electron micrograph of mitochondria. As you can see, this structure is membrane bound. Okay, outer membrane, so outer membrane, and another membrane inside, inner membrane, and there are 2 compartments for in terms of space. So one space is between 2 membranes, outer membrane and inner membranes. There is a space called intermembrane space. And inside the inner membrane, that space is so-called matrix. This space called matrix. There are a couple of very important compartments available in mitochondria. Very interestingly, mitochondrion has its own genome. So genetic information is, as you know, is indeed located inside the nucleus, right, in the form of chromosome and chromatin, and your genome obviously stored inside your nucleus. However, some organelles like mitochondrion has its own mitochondrial genome inside the mitochondria. So you are looking at human mitochondrial genome. This genome is circular, double-stranded DNA. It exists in the form of circular DNA, and there are 22 transfer RNA genes and 13 protein encoding regions available. And those proteins are mainly used for bioenergetics, for mitochondrial electron transport system, and as well as other enzymes. So because the existence of mitochondrial own genome, we scientists speculated the concept of endosymbiosis. So according to this hypothesis, in the very, very beginning of evolution, so prototype of eukaryotes start engulfing aerobic bacterium to inside their intracellular compartment, And that aerobic bacterium, during the million years of evolutionary time period, finally captured in the form of mitochondria. So existence of their own genome, the circular mitochondrial genome, indeed show high similarity with the bacterial genome. Another example is photosynthesis. Some plant cells additionally uptake the photosynthetic bacterium, and finally, that bacterium survive in the form of chloroplast. Sorry about that. Chloroplast. This is the concept of endosymbiosis. The functions of mitochondria is obviously most functions of mitochondria are involved in the bioenergetics. So matrix side. So again, mitochondria, outer membrane, and highly folded inner membrane. And this space is called matrix. Inside the matrix, citric acid cycle occurs. Citric acid cycle is the second phase of glucose oxidation. Furthermore, fatty acid will be oxidized, and there is very important cycle, urea cycle. This metabolic pathway is very, very important for protein degradation. Okay, and these reactions are all matrix related, and more importantly, and parallelly, inner membrane is very, very important site for biochemical pathways. One is electron transport system. I'm going to explain this electron transport and oxidative phosphorylation later in more details. And further, fatty acid transport processes can be mediated by inner membrane of mitochondria. So because of the importance of mitochondria in terms of regulating bioenergetics, there are a series of human diseases, mitochondria mutation-based diseases. So these mitochondrial disorders obviously caused by the mutations. It can be acquired spontaneously or just genetically inherited. So symptoms of mitochondrial diseases is quite devastating, because in particular, muscles and neurons have many mitochondria, because those two tissues in particular require a lot of ATP molecules. So when patient have non-functional or very abnormal mitochondrial populations inside their cells, the muscles and neurons will be highly affected. Because of that, some examples of mitochondrial disease like myopathy, so muscle degeneration, and some diseases like optic neuropathy is related to the eye vision problems. And some other syndromes, so apparently muscles and neurons are highly affected. Because of that, some mitochondrial disease patients suffer from the mental retardation and many muscle weakness related clinical symptoms. So far, I focused on the main functions of mitochondria in the context of bioenergetics. Indeed, mitochondria is so-called energy factory for your metabolic systems. On top of that, very recently, mitochondria is also can be regarded as a key player for the regulation of apoptosis. So apoptosis is defined in another way, programmed cell death. So apparently, the humans and many mammals and most eukaryotes have multiple cells. Some cells, depending on the stress or damage, whatever, they're supposed to be removed, and that cell death is highly regulated. So the example is when the mitochondria is highly stressed out or chemically or genetically damaged. In that case, mitochondria, the function and biochemical properties, I'm going to explain later. It's about membrane potential, membrane potential will be disrupted. In that case, this is kind of signal for triggering cell death. So cytochrome C is one of key enzyme localized in the mitochondria. When mitochondria are severely stressed or damaged, that cytochrome C is released out of the mitochondria and then activate apoptotic cellular program, cell death program, to make sure the damaged cells will be quite efficiently removed to protect the whole host organism. So, so for today, I focused on the importance of mitochondria. Obviously, mitochondria is membrane-bound organelle. So outer membrane, inner membrane, and the matrix inside the mitochondria. And there are also, mitochondria have their own genome, and very interesting and very important subcellular organelle in the context of bioenergetics. And more recently, a group of scientists identified mitochondria is also very, very critical for regulating or program the cell death.